Now, for more on the issue, we're joined by William Messner. He's a professor with the Department of Mechanical Engineering at Tufts University. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
So I want to start with this, William. Last year, there were roughly 35,000 traffic deaths in the United States, and the U.S. Transportation Secretary, whom we just heard from, Anthony Fox, says 25,000 of them could have been avoided if there were driverless cars because they were caused by human error. Do you think driverless cars really will save lives?
I have no doubt that they will save lives. The issue, of course, will be that sometimes they will fail, and they'll fail in ways that we can't predict right now, and that's going to cause some, anxiety amongst the consuming public.
Absolutely. I mean, fail, as we saw with Tesla, that's exactly what happened. And I think a lot of people in general, even before the Tesla incident, were afraid of driverless cars or wary of them at least. What did that incident do to the confidence in the idea of driverless cars, and what has it done for sort of the trajectory of development in the technology?
Well, it's quite interesting. In my opinion, as far as the trajectory of the development, it has actually accelerated the development because now we know what doesn't work. We know how, and then they're going to go about correcting those problems, and they know in what kinds of circumstances we should be looking to make sure cars are even safer than they are. With respect to the public's confidence, sure, it's been shaken a little bit. There's a lot of hype. On the other hand, maybe now people are a little more realistic about how these systems should be used as they are gradually implemented, either in private vehicles or in things like the Uber self-driving car.
Right, William. So just to be clear, I mean, at this point, should we assume that we're really going to have a car where there is no driver? And if so, how far away is that? Or in the short term, will the driver be in the seat, but just a lot of it will be automated? And another question related to that is if in the short term that's what we're going to be seeing, if there is an accident, is the driver still liable in a situation like that, or is it the technology?
Well, of course, these are tremendously difficult questions to answer because the circumstances are hard to predict. There's some evidence that the Tesla driver, was not paying attention. He was supposed to be watching the road. It was going too fast. So was it Tesla's fault, or was it the driver's fault? There was some sort of combination of the two. I think we're going to find that kind of thing happening, where it depends on how the car is supposed to be used. So if it's somebody getting behind a wheel and pushing a button, and then the car takes over, but otherwise you would drive the car a lot of the time, you have some responsibility. And on the other hand, if the car is completely autonomous, you don't have anything to do except give it a destination, then the technology is going to be at fault. But how much do we blame that if, statistically speaking, they're much safer? There was,
right.
Go ahead.
No, so I was just going to say, it sounds like it's going to be very difficult from a regulatory standpoint, how to handle all these changes. What do you think is going to be the most effective piece of regulation that will make these cars more safe?
Well, I think that the pre-market approval is very important. We have to have these cars tested thoroughly by independent and credible organizations, whether they be the National Highway Transportation Safety Board or some other for-profit or non-profit agency like Underwriters Laboratories. We need to know that these machines are safe in all kinds of reasonable circumstances. And it's difficult, right? We've seen how people will try to cut corners, whether it's on emissions or something else, on safety, if things are not properly regulated and tested ahead of time by an independent organization.
And William, also a very real concern also is whether these cars can be hacked. How do we tackle that or handle that worry?
It is a very big concern, and the car companies are going to have to be extremely careful I was listening to one of the previous speakers, and they said something about a hardware, unhackable security device. Something like that might be needed. We're going to have to be very careful about how these things are used. Now, the thing is, cars are already hackable, and but in some sense, the driverless vehicles will be more vulnerable.
A much bigger problem.
Especially if the...
Yeah. All right, well, that's all we have time for. Thank you so much. That was Bill Messner, Professor of Mechanical Engineering at Tufts University.